Hello everyone. Welcome to Cyber Bytes, where we will be discussing about various security tools, their concepts and application in security testing with demonstrations. So if you want to learn and apply the knowledge at the right place, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for notifications. So let us begin with our tool WFuzz. Now before hopping on the tool and its demonstration, let us first quickly understand the concept on which the tool WFuzz works, that is fuzzing. The most natural question now comes is, what is fuzzing? Now quoting from OWASP page on fuzzing, we can understand that fuzzing is a black box technique primarily and mostly automated, where a tester will try to bombard the target application with random inputs to see how the application behaves with the inputs. At some point, the malformed or random input might generate an error, which can be an indication of a vulnerability, which can then lead to further research to create an exploit by hackers, and security professionals use the same technique to discover and find ways to mitigate the bug and make the application more secure. Now, if we talk about static and dynamic analysis of application, yes, they are useful and they are highly used everywhere actually. So these are the techniques that are used to find the known vulnerabilities. However, the fuzzing concept can go beyond this barrier, and go beyond this limitation and discover unknown bugs in an application, which can detect resource leaks, crashes, unexpected behavior, security stability of the application under test. Now talking about another question, why should I fuzz and where to fuzz? So considering the fact that every software will have bugs, known or unknown, it is just waiting to be discovered. Now it is up to the application owner to decide who should be discovering the bug, a good guy or a bad one. Hence, a systematic approach is needed to discover any known or unknown bugs using the concept of fuzzing or fuzzing tool in general. Now the next question, where to fuzz and what could be the candidates for fuzzing? The question where is highly relative actually and can depend on application, file, protocol which is under testing scope. Generally, we target all or any field that can take and process inputs. So the common candidates for testing you can use. So you can actually use numbers which can be signed, unsigned, floats, etc. It can be characters in the form of URLs, command line inputs, meta characters, etc. It can be metadata, it can be binary sequences also. Now let us understand about fuzzing categories quickly. So first category, you can say first classification is, you can say, recursive fuzzing. So as you can see from the example here, that after the domain example.com, we have marked a resource which is 8 character long and hexadecimal value. Now knowing this, we can create a dictionary of random 8 character hex values and fuzz the URL with the random values to discover content. So this random value after the slash of the example.com is only for representational purposes. So basically we are trying to put a point here that, say for example, this can be a directory, it can be admin, it can be administrator or whatever we want to name it. So most of us might be knowing that yes, content discovery that we are doing, resources you are finding via forced browsing using tool dir buster or go buster. Yes, these tools are helpful. This tool WFuzz can also do that, and it can generate it on the fly also. So there are modules in WFuzz that can do that also. So yes, we can actually, putting this back, we can actually create a random, you can say not a random, basically a dictionary of targeted keywords, or you can say targeted hex values of 8 character length, and we can just feed it to any fuzzing software. So yes, we can do that also. That is an example of recursive fuzzing. Next is the replacive fuzzing. Now replacive fuzzing is the fuzzing part where actually you can replace a set of values with another payload. So in the previous example, or you can say the same example here, we can see here that after example.com and slash, there is a hex value of 8 characters. What we can do is we can just replace the whole thing with cross-site scripting payload. It can be SQL injection payload, LDAP injection payload, or XPath. So this actually doesn't strictly mean that yes, you have to put this here only. It is the fact that depending on the request that you are trying to fuzz or request that you are trying to test, you can put on different locations of the request, and you can see how application behaves. So other categories might include buffer overflows, format string errors, integer overflows, etc. So let us say hello to wfuzz, the tool that we will be using today. So let us understand, or you can say get familiar with this tool, about its background and who wrote this tool, and we should be grateful for that also. So wfuzz is basically a web application fuzzer. It was previously written by Xavi Mendes, Christian Martorella, Carlos Del Ojo. I don't know how to spell, you can say how to pronounce that. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I didn't mean to offend anything. All right, so the previous versions were written by the 3 authors. Now the current version of wfuzz that we will be talking about has been written by Xavi Mendes, and it actually, in essence, it is an automated framework because it is having different modules. So we will be seeing some of the modules for the demonstration, so you will understand it is not a standalone tool. It is a framework in itself. So it will be useful for fuzzing web applications as we know it. And the simple principle that it is applied in wfuzz is that for an application we need to fuzz, we just have to replace the desired location with the word fuzz, FUZZ, and wfuzz will replace the supplied payloads reference with the fuzz location. So it is quite simple, as we saw here in the previous slide. Let me just switch to them. Yeah, here in the previous slide, say for example, this is our target that we need to fuzz. We can tell wfuzz that, yeah, just replace this thing with fuzz, and we just supply a list of this hex characters, and wfuzz will do the rest. Now talking about the features of wfuzz. So wfuzz is capable of fuzzing directories, files, HTTP methods, cookies. It supports multi-threading, supports proxying, timing delays. Ready-made dictionaries are available for well-known applications. Filters of results based on regex, written code, word, line numbers, whatever you're comfortable with. So in our demonstration, we will be focusing on filtering based on status codes. So that will be a good thing. So it can also generate reports and provide output in various formats. That also we'll be seeing how actually we can create good reports and in different formats also, which is a very marvelous thing. So let us now switch to the most exciting part, that is the demonstration. So for that we will be first praying our demo gods and asking for their blessings, so all goes well. But before that, a word of caution that I would like to broadcast it to everyone watching the video. So the demos shown here are only meant for educational purposes, and testing has been done on testing websites available on internet. So there are some testing sites that are available. You can test your tools there. Also, in addition to testing sites, I have created 2 or 3 servers on my LAN network. They are available freely, so I have just deployed them in my isolated environment, and we'll be showing on that and others websites also. As and when required, we'll be switching it over, and I'll be telling you where it is available. I strongly support only ethical use of security tools, and the tools should never ever be used for any unauthorized purposes or activities. Never ever attempt to run the tool on sites that you do not own and have no permission to test. It will be an offense and you can end up in trouble. So note that thing. And I will take no responsibility for any of your irresponsible actions that can lead to harm or damage to other websites. This demonstration is only for educational purposes and only to teach you using the tool in performing security assessments after taking necessary permissions only. So let us switch to our demonstration part. Yeah. Here I have set up a virtual environment for testing our tool wfuzz. So I have deployed 2 VMs. One is a Metasploitable VM, which is having an IP address 192.168.1.7. Next is the VulnHub's CTF Seattle VM, which is having an IP address 192.168.1.8. I will be providing you the URL for this and download links for these VMs for your testing purpose if you want to deploy them and use them. Next up, we have a Kali instance running for testing purposes, and which is located at IP 192.168.1.6. So our Kali Linux machine is up and running, and I have connected to that via SSH. Let us now get on with the WFS demonstration. But before that, we will be looking at the help file of WFS. That's our help file, and this help file basically tells us about different features, or you can say different options that are available for WFS. So we will be what I have in mind is I will be as and when we will be using these options, I will be explaining you what are these options and demonstrating you parallelly, so that will save our time. So let us get back to our options, and you can say our command, and we'll just start with the demonstration with the starting. Let us first start with directory brute forcing directories or forced browsing, and for that we'll be using WFS, and we'll be using the W that stands for our word list mode. So we'll be using word list. So word list, I have word list. Let me show you some word lists. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6 some word lists I do have. So we'll be using the dir list.txt. So okay, so this is our small directory list that I have used for demonstration purposes, and it will save us some time. So we'll be using WFS. .192.168.1.7, that is the metasploitable box, and we'll be referencing here. So we need to discover content here, so we'll be using the keyword fuzz here, and we'll be telling WFS to start working, and there we go. So we are getting one after the other lots of requests. So let me show you the what are the response codes. So based on response code that earlier I told you, so 301404 200 are there. So what we can do is we can actually filter out the results. Say for example, I do not want 404, and I am interested in all the responses that are anything except 404. So I can put a small filter here, so like this. Sorry, my keyboard is getting crazy. So we can hide the 404 code that we do not want to see in our results, and we can just go with that. So here we found some valid directories. So if you want, we can test that also. Just switch over to my browser and show you tvkey and test and index. So here 192.168.1.7, that /test, oops, sorry, .7/test. There we have. Next we can try is tvkey. We have tvkey. So in this way we have discovered content here. So this was our example. Now let us move back to our terminal and get cracking. So this was actually about our discovering contents using the simple example. Now another example that we'll be seeing is how actually we can discover files. We can actually also tell WFS to locate files or backup directories, or you can say backup files that might exist on a web server. So we can do that also. So for that, one prerequisite is that we should know what is the file extension. Say for example, here we are specifically focusing on .php files. So we can tell WFS to find some files that are actually the PHP extension. So we'll be seeing some file list here. So file test.txt is there, HTTP list methods, okay fine. So file test.txt is there. So let us have a look. Interested in finding PHP files, so let us use this command and go. So it did not find, no such file or directory. Okay, file test. Okay, so typo mistake. Yeah, so we got basically three files that are valid, or you can say they are redirecting or working. So one is login, one is PHP info, and one is index.php. So this is how actually we can generate, you can say use file fuzzing also. That is also possible. We can do use this option too. Now we can use this same thing to say for example the same command. Say for example, I want to not for .bak file, if I want backup file. So we all know that some administrators, they might knowingly or unknowingly just store the backup files, and we might actually hit it, but we might get the backup files also. So it is worth trying also. So we can use this command for that also, for discovering another backup or sensitive files. So this is also one demonstration that you can try out. So next interesting part that we'll be trying out is fuzzing HTTP verbs, or you can say HTTP methods. So fuzzing, or you can say testing for HTTP methods, is also defined in OWASP standard, and it is actually a necessary step to see what HTTP methods does a website, or you can say a web application supports. And we also should be aware that each and every page, depending on the utility of page, methods are supported. But sometimes it does happen, and I have also seen that some site, you can say developers or site administrators, they basically put it on a loose end, and they might actually allow all the methods, or you can say sometimes insecure methods like trace methods, they do allow it. And this might actually cause security issues also, depending on the use case of the application or the vulnerabilities that are associated. So this might be chained, and actually this might be exploited if it is found at all. So here we will be using the wfuzz tool for fuzzing HTTP methods or HTTP verbs. So for those, the command for that is wfuzz, and we'll be using the -z here. So z basically will be standing for the list option, and we'll be using list, and we will be stating the methods like so, list. So we'll be using get. So 1.7 here, our command is autofilled for us. So right, so in this way actually we can set our command for fuzzing HTTP methods. So -X will stand for fuzzing methods, and basically we have to specify this using the -X switch and passing the fuzz option, and we are specifying it specifically for DVWA application. And let us see what we get. So it is supporting almost all the methods, not all the methods: get, post, options, trace, head, delete. Now let us do one thing. Let us try to do the same thing on the parent folder. So the same way we are, if you actually have marked previously, it was giving us 301 in response code. Now it is giving us 200. Let me just do that again for you. So this is DVWA. So here, if you can see, the response code here is 301, 301, 200, 301, 301. So 200 basically it is telling the trace method is enabled. So trace method is enabled, that means it is actually not a good sign. So trace method is actually risky in a sense, so it should be disabled. So this is the you can say the result that we got when we are trying to fuzz a DVWA application. Now if we are trying to fuzz the main application, that means this one 1.7, that is the home folder, you can say index folder. So it is giving me all the responses 200. So yes, this is a sort of misconfiguration, you might tell. And also you should know that in the internal pages, after logging in, they also might have different HTTP methods enabled, as I told you previously, based on page you can say requirements, or what is the functionality of the page. So you should be knowing that also. Yeah, so let us do one thing. Yeah, this one is there. Okay, so this earlier command was basically using the -z option, which is actually specifying a list that we are supplying in this method. Now if we have actually you can say a list of, you can say word list, if you have word list, then you can actually specify the word list also. So here I will just delete this thing. So I will be using -w, this is the word list, and we'll be using methods.txt file. This is the method.txt file, and we'll be using it. So this way we got our answer. So see here, one more interesting thing, actually I have put a few more random methods, abcd, put abcd, cat, the two more random methods have been put. See, this application is also responding to random HTTP methods, which is also not a good practice as per OWASP standard. So you should actually this is to be marked, and this can be reported. So this is one thing. So there is a method called cat also. So cat method is also working. If you want to test it against DVWA, and we see what we are getting. So yes, so for cat it is giving me 301, and for abcd also it is giving me 301. Okay, so it is redirecting, it will be try to redirect. Okay, so one more thing. Yeah, so this was about fuzzing HTTP verbs. Now let us move to fuzzing HTTP basic authentication methods. So we all know what is HTTP basic auth method, and how actually there are different methods in which you can actually bypass and test them, but we'll be using wfuzz to test the HTTP authentication basic auth method. So for that we have a test site. I'll be showing you that test site on which our test is based. So here, okay, so this is our URL where we'll be trying our wfuzz for HTTP authentication testing. So this is asking for our username and password. So we will be testing this URL again with our wfuzz. So I will just copy this URL, and we'll let it just, okay, cancel. Okay, good. So we'll just go to our terminal. Okay, so let me just show you what is there in the command. So here capital Z here will be telling wfuzz, capital Z here will be telling wfuzz to go in scan mode, minus small, you can say minus small z, that is basically telling wfuzz to use a list mode in getting the username and password. So it is list, and then we are putting some admin pass non-valid weak sauce test 80, whatever we want to put, we can put that also. If you want, you can use the -w option and you can put a text file with line separated values, and you can test with that also. So here we are specifying the -- basic option, and we are telling that fuzz : fuzz. So we are basically fuzzing username and password, and the URL that we want to test, the URL that I just showed you earlier, and let us see. Okay, so here we got response code 200 for HTTP watch. So our password will be, and username and password would be HTTP watch, and we'll be testing that also on our browser. So let us go to our browser and let us okay, so this is our example that actually showed how our user authentication based on HTTP authentication can be tested using wfuzz. So let us move on back to our terminal and let us look at another example. So if we want, we can also fuzz the URL parameters also. Say for example, we have some URL parameters that actually go for product ID is equal to 1, then 2 and 3 and 4, and you might have seen in your web test engagements also, or in any of the bug bounty program that you might be enrolled. So that makes a good candidate for, you can say, enumerating things, or you can actually even for SQL injection also this becomes a candidate. So you can fuzz for the URL parameters also. So let us do an example for that. So we can use wfuzz. We'll be using the -c. So my IP I need to change is 0.8 because my Seattle server is based on 0.8. Yeah, and this is the URL products.php type equals first. So let me just show you on the browser how this looks in a sense, so you can get an idea. So this is my Seattle server. I will just go, say for example vinyl. So products.php type equal to 1. So what we are telling wfuzz is to fuzz here. Fuzz. So we can get different names, you can say different products. Sometimes it might help us discover anything that actually which we have not seen. So basically this is a type of testing where actually you can, there is a possibility that if you want, you can just give a big characters also, you can say, you can put random values also and see how actually it behaves. So that is one thing. So let us move on back. Great. So what we are telling that we need to fuzz the type parameter. So let's see from 10. Okay. So let me just explain you the command here. So the command here is -c, that is for colorize the thing. So we can see the results that are in color. -v is verbose mode, and -z, that is basically we are specifying the range here from 0 through 10. So it will work like this. So this is basically the result that we got, and you can see that all are present. So all are getting 200 response code. So this range exists. So if you want, you can put a bigger number also. If you want, you can go with 100 also if you want. So it will give you the result also. So you can actually test like this. Now moving on to another example. What happens now if we want to fuzz post request? So till now what we have seen is we are fuzzing the get request and the parameters in URL. Now if we want to fuzz the post request, then that is also possible. I'll be showing you how actually we can use that. So let's have before that, let us collect some information on our Seattle server, and we will be seeing how actually we can collect this information and use this information. Say for example, there is my my account page, and it is having email and password. So yes, so for that basically you need to collect what is the corresponding field name. We just go to inspect, and yes, let us collect what is the name of this field, that is user mail, and password that is stored, that is the name of the field, that is password. So username, user mail and password. So these two are the fields that we need to target in our post request. So with wfuzz we can do that also. So let me show you how. Perform a post request fuzzing. So wfuzz. All right, so let me just give you a quick overview of the command. So we are telling wfuzz to use in word list mode, and we are using giving the paths to the word list. Word list, actually it is SQL injection payloads. We are supplying payloads, and we are trying to fuzz using the -d, that is the data that we are giving, that is user mail, which we previously saw. The value of that user field will be fuzz, and password, that is the field of called password, and we fuzzing for that also. And we are telling to hide the response code 302 because we do not want to see the redirections right now. And we are specifying the target, that is 192.168.1.8 actually, not 6. This is actually from my previous tests that I performed before creating the video, so it will come back. So let me just show you account.php here. So here out. So this is the URL that we will be targeting, account.php. Okay, so these are the response code. So basically we can actually, on a primary basis, we can tell that this application is vulnerable to SQL injection attacks, and we are getting response code 200 for all the payloads that we threw at it. So yes, we can test like that also. And yes, this is how actually we can fuzz post request also. So it is up to your creative thinking how actually you take this example and how actually you use it to your advantage in testing your applications, or during the course of bug bounty hunting also you can use these also. There are other tools also, but you should give a chance to these tools, because from different tools, if you gather results, you can get a better assessment of the situation. So this tool can be helpful to you, so you should try that out also. So let us have a look at some advanced features offered by wfuzz. So some of the advanced features that we'll be discussing, they might be quite useful to you, and if you apply it to your daily pen test activities or bug bounty activities, this might be helpful to you. So first is the option that we can try out is the iterators. So basically, what if you want to combine payloads using the -m switch? So if you want to use payloads with the and you use them in combination, so you can use the -m option, and this will be a functionality provided by iterators. And if you want to see what are the available iterators for you, so you can use this option wfuzz -e iterators. So you will be having a list of 3 iterators. We will be showing you demonstration of each and every one of them. So first is the chain, next is the product, and third one is the zip. So I'll be practically showing you how actually these iterators, when we are passing it, look behind the scenes, and I will be passing this traffic through a proxy. So that will be getting you the concept more clear, how actually you can use these iterators to your advantage. Now let us begin with the zip iterator. That is the first iterator that we'll be trying to demo. So let us have a look. So wfuzz. So yes, this is our iterator, and iterator zip, that is we are using the -m module, that is the zip iterator that we'll be using. Next, we are providing 2 lists. First list is ABC, second list is 1, 2, 3. To understand how actually this iterator works, this is the best idea that I have read in the documentation. So it is very neat idea to understand. And here, see, as we have two candidates for fuzzing, what we are doing is one directory that we need to fuzz. Next is fuz2 and z we are adding. So let us see how actually the result we are getting and what the result it is. So fine, it is getting 404 each and every time. That is fine. We are not concerned with what. But see, what we are concerned with is how actually the payload is looking. See here, the payload basically it is coming B2, A1 and C3. So it is 1-to-1 relation, A1, B2, C3 like so. So you can use this combination also. Now to have a look at this in a more clear fashion, what I can do is I can pass this through proxy and I'll show it for you. So here I'll be showing you how actually the traffic will be looking like behind the scenes and when we are using the zip iterator. So this one, so let us have a look. The previous command only, but we need to add another option, that is -p, that we are proxying, and we are using the proxy server address 2.168.3:8080. using our proxy is HTTP based. Okay, so let us have a look. So my burp is running in the background. Okay, so let us have a look at how the traffic will be looking like in burp. And here in the HTTP history we can see here, this is the URL that came through, this one /a/1, then next come /c/3. so this way actually, if you can imagine how actually you can use different payloads for different iterations. So this is basically 1-to-1 relation. That is also a thing that if you want to try, you can use that also. So this is one example that you can try out. So let me just clear out this history. Now let us move back to our terminal. Okay, so this was the example of the zip iterator. Now if we want to have a look at chain iterator, so how actually we can do? So we'll be using the same thing. We'll be using the chain iterator. So this chain iterator, how it will be looking, we'll be having a look. Okay, so now in this example, in this command, we'll be looking at the chain iterator. Now how the chain iterator will work? Basically we have to provide multiple lists and with a single point where we want to fuzz it. So this is the command how actually it will look like, and we will be passing this traffic again through a proxy and we will be seeing how it looks. So see here, so in this way it gave CAB321. Let us have a look and at how at proxy level it looks like. And yes, so this was the traffic that went through CA23. so it gave different things, right? Okay, so this was about the chain iterator. Now let us have a look at another iterator, that is the product iterator. Sorry. So here we will be just changing a few things. So product, and we will be using fuzz and another directory fuz2z. This is how actually we will be using the product iterator, and we are again passing this traffic through proxy for a clearer view. So this how it gave. So A3, B3, C3, B1, A2 in this way, in this fashion it gave. So let us see under the proxy how it looks. So yeah, here it is. First is C/2, next is C/3. So what it will do, that A, then 1 2 3, B 1 2 3, C 1 2 3. In this fashion it will work. If you can see, if you can take a idea how actually it gave. And yeah, let us go back to our terminal this way. So total A3, B3, C3, then B1, A2, C2, C1, A1, B2. In this way it is one-to-many relationships it is going. So in this way it will work. Okay, now let us have a look at another concept that wfuzz is useful, that is using encoders. Now wfuzz supports multiple encoders, and to view a list of encoders we can issue this command wfuzz encoders. So this is the encoders. So there are different classes of encoders. So you can use any of the encoders as per you find in your find them in your situation, and you can use them for your advantage. So we will be using some basic examples of single encoders, and if you want we can use a combination of multiple encoders also, that is also possible. So the good thing about that is rather in sometimes we are seeing during our phase of our pen test that some of the application endpoints are accepting hashed values. So on browsers, JavaScript is doing hashing for us, and then these hashes are sent to the backend service to verify for authentication or whatever the logic is. So what we can do is, if we have a ready-made list of, you can say, username, passwords, or combination, whatever it is, we can actually tell WFuzz to use this list and use this encoder and encode each and every values and send it to our application endpoint. So that is actually a neat way of doing things. So it will be fast rather than just doing it first selecting the word list and then encoding them and then using that list. So yes, so what Burp also provide this facility, it can do that for us also, but this is actually one more thing that you can have a look and explore. You might get useful, and the good thing is that you can use this programmatically also if you want. So if you are creating your own tool, you can actually use this logic also. So let us show you example with an external website for testing that is available, that is testphp.vulnweb.com. Let me show you this website. This basically is site maintained by Equinetics. So this is for testing for Equinetics web vulnerability scanner, but we are just doing our small tests here. So courtesy and kudos to them. Okay, so let us continue with our demo. Right. Okay, so what we'll do is, using WFuzz, we'll be using Z, and we'll be using the Z that is basically using the file, and we're using dir. Yeah, this is directory list, and we are trying to fuzz this directory in the form of MD5 hash, and we'll be using this vulnerweb site. Okay, so yeah, we got, so it's okay, we got 404, but the point is we need to just use this option for hashing. So encoder is that. If we want, we can use the SHA-1 also. We can use SHA-1, yeah, so a typo, so fine. So SHA-1 you can use any of the hashing methods or encoders you want. You can use that also. This is the generic example. If you can use the same technique of using encoders to your post requests or any of the requests, because the options will remain same. So if you can relate with the post request demonstration, you can just use that option, and you can just go on with that also. So this is one example that it can be useful. Now let us have a look at examples where we can use multiple encoders. Okay, so let us have an example where we can use multiple encoders. So in some situations you might come across that there might be multiple encodings present, or you might not be knowing, you might be just having an idea, okay, it might be MD5, it might be SHA-1, it might be SHA-256 also. So what you can do is you can just throw around 2 to 3 iterators of your choice and see what you can get. So this is one example. So yeah, this one. So WFuzz, and we are using the -z option, and we'll be using the list of 1, 2 and 3, and here we'll be using two encoders. First is MD5 for hashing and SHA-1 for hashing 2 also. So, and we will be using our internal server. So here what is happening is, for one it will be creating a hash of from MD5 algorithm, and next for one also it will be getting a hash of SHA using SHA-1 algorithm. Same way goes for 2 and 3, and this way we are getting just 6 different hash values. In this way you can use multiple encoders. Now if we want, we can use multiple encoders. Now these are individual encoders. Now if we want to encode using you can say output of one encoder to the input of another encoder. So when I'm using SHA-1 and MD5, so what I will do is I will first get the hash from the using the SHA-1 algorithm, and then I will get the result from the SHA-1 algorithm, and then I will use that hash from the SHA-1 algorithm and hash it using the MD5 algorithm. So it is like piping input with the output, or output with the input, sorry. So this is the example that I'll be showing you. So 1 2 3 MD5 SHA-1, and I will be using this time MD5 and SHA-1. So if I'm using @ operator, then what we'll do is I will get actually 3 results. So the result will be, first one will be passed via MD5 algorithm, and a hash will be there, intermediate hash, and then that hash will be provided to the SHA-1 algorithm, and it will create a resultant hash. So you can actually do multiple hashings in a single step. So this is like a pipeline. Now say for example, let us have a look with a proof of concept only. So what we'll do is MD5, and we'll be using none. So none algorithm is basically default, nothing is there. So we'll be and this time I will be just reducing the inputs to 1. Yeah, so it will be easier for us to digest. So this is the thing. So this is the MD5. Now let me do one thing. I will be using this only, and I will be passing through MD5 again. So only MD5 hash is applied, and you will be seeing the hash is the same. So when I am using none, so now what I will do is I will use another algorithm, MD5 and the @SHA-1. So double encoding will happen, and you will be seeing the result. It is in front of your eyes. So first MD5, and that MD5 output will be fed to the input of SHA-1 algorithm, and we are getting the result like this. So in this way we can use multiple encoders. Now one thing is also possible, that if we want to call encoders based on their category. So let me just show you. Yeah, so this is basically category. Say for example, I want to just call this category of hashes category of encoders, and automatically it will do that also for us also. So let me just show you. This is very interesting. Yeah, okay, so let me just take on this previous example, and we'll be using like this and hashes. So all the hashes category encoders will be acting upon this one, and we'll be getting these many results. So different hashing algorithms will be working against the same payload, and we are getting the result like this. So this is also one thing that you can try if you want to call by category also. If you do not want to call by name, that is also possible. So let us have a look at another interesting features that is offered by WFuzz, which is actually called the scripts. So what are the scripts? Let me show you WFuzz, and we'll be using the script. So basically these are different categories of scripts, and the name of the script is given, and what is the job that it does at a certain level that has been summarized. So I tried to find out more about the different categories of scripts, but I wasn't able to find much. But actually I got one interesting thing from the documentation that about robots.txt. I'll be showing you how. So how actually we can work with that, I will be showing you. So we can just test with one of our vulnerable servers on the line here. So let us have a look. So WFuzz. .7, that is my metasploitable, and there is a folder Matilde, and then we'll be using the first keyword. So we are using script called robots, and we'll be passing a list of, you can say, robots.txt. So basically this is an inbuilt list, robots.txt. You can just put it, and you are trying to put on the path of the folder, path of the web application folder, sorry. And let us see how actually our demonstration will work. So see, the interesting thing here is it found a robots.txt file, and it contained these much information, and all these were giving 200. Okay, this was the line and character length. So this was one interesting script that actually you should try out whenever you are trying to discover robots.txt. This is a good thing that you should be working on. Now WFuzz also offers reporting modules which are known as printers. So this is a very good thing, that if you want to create a report for any of the discovery that you made, so that is also possible. So let me show you what are the available. So WFUZ offers us various options for creating reports. So the options, if you want to see which are the available options, so printers, as they are called in WFUZ, the modules for printing out the files, or you can say the creating reports. So the options that that are available are called the CSV. We can create the file CSV report. We can create HTML, JSON, Magic Tree, or RAW, as you deem fit. I'm mostly concerned with the HTML, CSV, and JSON formats. I haven't been using much of Magic Tree and RAW formats, or field also. So for that, let us take an example and see how actually we can create a report. So we'll be using some of the example that we did earlier. See, and we'll be using test, yeah, this one, this option. Okay, so let me just explain you the command. So we are using -c, that is in colored output format. F, basically we are using the format of the file that we need to output, so format and name. So we are basically using test.html, and HTML is the format that we want. Next is the word list that we want to use. Next is the post parameters, data in the post parameters, that is user mail and passwords, if you can recall from the earlier examples that we saw. Then we are using the option of hiding code, that is 302 response code we do not want, and we are specifying our target URL, and let us test it. So we got our result here, and let us see if our test.html is ready or not. Yeah, our test.html file is there. If we want, we can see more of test.html. So yes, it is there. So let me just show you in the browser how actually it will look. Okay, so let us have a look at our browser. So here is our report, which is ready, and yes, so this is basically our result that we got. In this way we can create reports, and we can use it as per our scope and or rules of engagement they dictate. And in this way you can use, this was actually a small introduction about the tool WFUZ, which was quite interesting, I found, and I thought it would be useful for everyone here who actually are doing work into pen testing and testing security application, bug hunting. So this might find a place in your arsenal, and it is worth mentioning that this tool is quite useful to you, and if you can use it, it will be very good. So this was in my mind for today's episode of Cyberbytes. So there is a lot more to explore for WFUZ. This is just an introductory part about WFUZ, and I encourage you to refer to the documentation of WFUZ and use it to secure your web applications and test your applications for security vulnerabilities. If you like my work, please provide encouragement by subscribing the channel and sharing the video to your friends and colleagues. This will help the channel to grow and encourage me to provide me more of the educational videos on cybersecurity tools. Yes, please do comment and provide inputs on what we would like to see in the upcoming videos. I will be seeing you in the next videos. Till then, stay safe and secure. Signing off. Goodbye, everyone.